I'm curious from a homesteading perspective too, what animals did you start with and what resources did you use to get started 20 years ago?
We started with animals like these.
Who's this little guy?
Yeah, this is our youngest, my son Daniel, who just had to be gotten out of bed at the end of his nap. He's not too excited to be awake yet, but he will be soon.
Yeah, for the listener that can't see on camera, we've got this awesome roster of John's children just flowing in and out of the podcast. It's actually incredible.
Yeah, it's we homes we have a real. That's the other thing I love about our life is, um, most people's homes are empty castles of consumption.
Yes.
We've gotten bigger and bigger homes over the past 50 years that people spend less and less time in. And when they are in them, it's not like they use their homes to do anything productive anymore, which is such a sea change from all of human history that it's really hard to get modern people even to imagine how different homes were 100 years ago. I'll send you a quote after the interview from the 1933 President Hoover's report on social trends in America. This is almost 100 years ago. It's a report on the changing nature of the American populace and society. And there's this quote in there. I'm going to paraphrase. It basically says, "Gone from the home were all of its traditional functions." And then it lists all of these functions and it lists things you and I would never think were the responsibility of a home: education, security, and protection. Like if my home's in danger, I got to call 911. That's not my job. Um, Religious duties, but like it just lists all of these things. Hospitality. Where did hotels come from? Like hotels are a relatively modern invention, especially at the scale we have them. Why? Because traditionally you stayed with extended family. Like hospitality was a duty of your family to show to others who you knew. And so we just love having recaptured some of that nature of what a home really is supposed to be and what a home can be.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes me think about, the traditional modern family usage of a home. Hopefully there it's cooking and sharing a meal, which is good, but probably the majority of meals aren't really being prepared from scratch. The connection point is probably in the family room over television. Maybe there's some light conversation, but now it's really transitioning towards all the children being in their rooms, just mindlessly scrolling on social media, and there really is no connection. So and then sleeping. And those are really like the four primary functions now, contrasted to this comprehensive list that I haven't even thought about that you just presented. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's great. And so for us, you asked what animal we did first. Everybody does laying chickens first. Egg laying chickens are the gateway drug to all sorts of other excitement with animals. And it makes sense. It's low cost to get into laying chickens. If you have a chicken die, it's sad. If you have a cow die, it's a financial setback. Um, you know, and so we started with chickens. We've done chickens, cows, pigs, turkeys, ducks, meat birds, rabbits. Trying to think if we've raised any other animals at this point. Um, yeah, we had a little rabbit too. You want to tell everybody? He's now ready to talk a little.
You got a little rabbit.
Yeah, so you can sit a little higher. You got a good smile, even though you got bedhead
Great.
from your
He's got
nap.
a great smile.
He really does. He's
Oh, I know. Remember when what while back I got the bomb
yeah.
right there.
Can you say hi?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a little shy.
Yeah, he's just waking up. Yeah, so we started with easy animals. We took our licks on those, and then we would just expand when it was appropriate. We'd love to get back to doing cattle again because beef cattle were absolutely our favorite. We realized we'd have to re-fence a good portion of our property,
Hmm.
and we're like, that's going to take some time and a fair bit of money. So I think we might add lamb back next year.
That's
So,
awesome.
and a milk cow. So we're looking at getting our first milk cow now that we have old enough kids.
Well, we need to fuel your raw milk ice cream addiction. So,
Yeah.
so you were saying that when a cow dies, it's a financial setback because of the resources you're investing into the cow and then the potential money that could be made harvesting the whole animal. Is that correct?
Exactly. You know, if a laying chicken dies, the most you're going to financially lose is like $20 to $40. You have an 8-month-old cow die. You might have you're looking at $1,000, a $1,500, a $2,000 loss.
Hmm.
You know, which is why I always tell people, unless you have animal raising experience, going straight to cows, unless you're well capitalized and can eat the risk, is not where I would suggest starting. You know, because again, if a chicken gets hurt or something and it dies, you know, you just get more baby chicks, you raise them out. But if a cow gets injured, you really have to have medical knowledge for cows, or you're going to be calling a veterinarian. And you know, my area, a minimum vet visit, like base vet cost is $160 just to come out and look at the animal, not even treat it.
Hmm.
You know, so cows and other animals are just absolutely fabulous. But it's good for listeners to realize, you know, people who are raising our food take on real financial and other risks because they're caring for living things.
How has your perspective with life, death changed since homesteading 20 years ago?
It reminds me of how much as our society has become less agrarian and less connected to nature and reality. Um, why it's so hard for us to talk about so many subjects. You know, my kids grew up watching animals live, die, be butchered. That, you know, so when the Bible talks about death, it's it's something my kids already have an inherent understanding of. Everything dies. And you're not hiding it from them like modern people who tend to try and hide themselves from these truths. Or you talk about things like mating and sexuality and stuff. Like my kids are breeding animals. So all of these subjects that are so awkward for parents to try and talk about with their kids, they wouldn't have been awkward until very recently in human history, because you're literally, you know, most parents 100 years ago were saying to their kids, has the bull bred the cow yet?
Hmm.
You know, most people would blush their ears out to hear that said at a dinner table. But when you're a farming or homesteading family, it's normal life. It's no longer a kind of an odd taboo subject. And it's no longer, oh, this big blushing subject.
Hmm. Yeah, there's no morality around it. It's just how life is created.
Yeah. You know, and then it gives you a good opportunity to um, transfer into what the Bible teaches about these things. You know, why is there death? Well, there's death because of sin. You know, what is the purpose of procreation? So it gives you opportunities to have discussions with your kids that are really natural instead of so many people who are like trying to find the appropriate time to finally talk to their teenagers about such stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, and the beauty of how connected you are to the homestead and to these animals. I don't know. The one thing I will say, I will admit, I have never gone hunting before. It's definitely a goal that I have in the future. And I know a lot of ranchers personally and homesteaders, but I've never done, I don't have my own homestead. But I will tell you, with a lot of the meat that I've bought from farmers that I am friends with, or even some of the harvests I've gone to, I remember just feeling almost like this connection to the meat and the animal and this
Yeah.
responsibility of like really clearing my plate and also inheriting those nutrients and going out and doing something really just meaningful in the world, because because the animal is forfeiting their life for your nutritional gain. So I can only
Yeah.
imagine the responsibility and the level of connection that you and your family feel. I'm doing this for 20 years and being so close to the animals.
Yeah, there's a great quote. I can't remember if it's C.S. I think it's C.S. Lewis, but it might be Tolkien, where he talks about this level of connection when you truly live somewhere, and where you live is what feeds you. Um, and he basically says, no wonder people describe the trees as talking and the streams as singing and stuff, because they had such an intimate relation with their ecosystem, because in a real way, that ecosystem is what gave them life.
Yeah. Well said, John.